Hello, everyone. I just realized I had scheduled incorrectly, but it's fixed. So grateful to be here with everyone. We are reading from Warrior Goddess Training. We're on lesson 8, Speak Your Truth. And we've been reading since the beginning of September. We're going to read the entire book, lessons 1 through 10. So if you're just joining us, you're so welcome to just jump in. See this as kind of a mini divination. So if you've just found this broadcast or this recording, there's something here for you today. And if you want to continue to join me, I am sharing Out of Warrior Goddess Training weekdays, Monday through Friday, 7 a.m. Pacific time, Los Angeles, 10 a.m. New York, or Eastern time, 3 p.m. in London, British summertime. Good morning, Linda. So as you tune in, feel free to share where you're coming in from. We're broadcasting to many different platforms, and sometimes the chat doesn't work, just so you know. If I don't mention your name or answer a question, it's usually because I'm not getting it. I'm not seeing it. So apologies in advance for that. But we're broadcasting on YouTube in the Warrior Goddess Women group, and the Warrior Goddess Training Circle. Hey, everyone. Hierophant Publishing and Warrior Goddess Training, so on my publishers' pages and on my personal pages as well. Good morning. So, hey, everyone. Yay, glad you're here. We are, again, reading from Lesson 8, Speak Your Truth. And let's see what the book has for us today. Oh, glad you could join us too, Valerie. Owning Your Words. One of my favorite books on communication is Messages, the Communication Skills book by Matthew McKay, Martha Davis, and Patrick Fanning. It is a great guide for cleaning up what the authors called contaminated or partial messages. A contaminated message is when your energy does not match your words. I see you are late again. Oops, let's try this again. A contaminated message is when your energy does not match your words. I see you are late again can be said cleanly as an observation, or the same words can be a vehicle for sarcasm, bitterness, blame, and frustration. I see you are late again from a clenched body and angry tone is a contaminated message because you're putting your frustrated and hurt energy into a simple statement of fact. When you are learning to be clear with your words, it is vital that you become clear with the energy you put behind them. The practice of speaking your truth isn't just about the words you use, but also carries the responsibility that your speech is free of contaminated messages or words that are loaded with negative feelings. A partial message doesn't convey the full range of deep communication. McKay invites you to share whole messages when we are in intimate conversation. Whole messages include our observation of the situation, the facts, our thoughts, which may or may not be true. We're going to come back to this because this is so good. Our thoughts which may or may not be true, our feelings, our emotional experience, and our needs. What do we want? Separating these 4 different aspects of communication is a great education in where we hold back or distort our voice. So if anybody, hey, Caitlin, we're on page 110 if anybody wants to join in reading. A fact is the observable, measurable, honest-to-goodness truth of what happened. When I initially started naming the facts of a situation first, I found it was surprisingly challenging. We tend to lead with statements such as you always or you never when we are upset. Stating the facts of the situation invites us to slow down, step back, and see what is really going on. Here's the difference. You are always late, too. The last 2 times we met, you were half hour late and didn't call me. The observation is just that, neutral, without story or emotion. It may take a while to track what the facts are, especially when we are really upset by someone else's actions. Our thoughts, so that's observation. It really takes practice to get to good observation, to learn what the difference between observation and what we're thinking. Okay, so here's what thinking is. Our thoughts are the words running around in our head about the situation. Our thoughts are not necessarily the truth. They are just what we are thinking in the moment. They are also not our emotions. So we want to keep our emotions and our thoughts separate. I wonder if we were scared and I felt hurt and abandoned by your actions. It's much clearer than you wanted to hurt me and your messed up childhood is ruining my life. We get to become more intimate with our thoughts when we practice clear communication. Okay, again, huge. We get to practice being more intimate with our thoughts when we practice conscious communication, getting to really see, what am I actually thinking? And we also need to get more honest and intimate with what our emotional responses are. The third part of clear communication is sharing our feelings. Since we often share our stories and not our vulnerable feelings, this can sometimes feel scary. Keep asking yourself, how did this situation make me feel? Avoid telling others that they made you feel any particular way. They didn't make you feel. No one can actually make you feel anything because no one is inside of you creating the emotional reaction within you. Shift from "you made me feel" to "I felt." Be mindful of how easy it is to blame others for your state of mind. "I felt that you abandoned me" is actually not accurate because you are giving the other person power over your emotions, which only you have. Take the other out of your feeling statement so they are about you. Say, "I felt X," rather than "you made me feel X." "I felt betrayed and shocked" takes your power back and communicates with the other person what happened inside of you. The fourth part of clear communication, stating your needs, can sometimes really throw you for a loop. As I learned to communicate more clearly, I was surprised to find that I had the facts, could name my thoughts, and felt my feelings, but I had no idea what I wanted. It was tremendously empowering to name the need. "I'd like it if you picked up your clothes off the floor and put them in the hamper. Please call me if you're going to be more than 10 minutes late. I need more structure. Can we set up a time to create an outline for the project?" Important note, just because you share a need doesn't mean the person you are talking to can fulfill it, or even that they should. What is most important is being clear with what your need is, then exploring how to fulfill that need in creative ways with yourself or with others. Be clear about what you want and find out if you can speak about it and make conscious agreements. What I found in being more conscious in communication is the importance of bringing in humor, clarity, and both ears to all conversations. Okay, so that again is from, you just solved a conversation I have to have. I know when I picked up this book, I was like, oh, this is, perfect for me as well today. So that again, that work of those four, what am I observing? What am I thinking? What am I feeling? And what is my need is from an incredible book called it's not Conscious Communication. The communication skill is called Messages, the Communication Skill book. And those of you that have studied nonviolent communication, very similar. So these two works of Messages from Matthew McKay and Nonviolent Communication from Marshall Rosenberg, very similar books, incredibly helpful learning how to communicate. So that was me summarizing that book. Hello, beautiful. So let's read the next section, Speaking Your Truth. I'd like to share with you the following example of speaking your truth that occurred with a woman I coached. Wendy had been in a relationship with her girlfriend Sue for many years. On the whole, her relationship was a healthy one, but Wendy noticed that in certain stressful situations, she was afraid to speak her truth and instead would shut down. This occurred in situations when Sue would raise her voice. Once on the warrior goddess path, Wendy took the following actions. First, she waited to talk about the situation until they were both in a good space. When both people are frustrated and upset, it is no use talking because there is no one there to listen. So her first action was to wait for the emotions to dissipate. The next day, she sat down with Sue and said, "Honey, last night when we were talking about finances, you raised your voice, and it scares me when you raise your voice. When you do that, my reason shuts down and I pull away because I'm afraid you will hurt me. I know you will never hurt me, but I still have this response in my body. I would like to ask that if you are upset at me, that we take some time out to cool down and then we talk. That way I'll be able to stay more present with you and really hear what you are saying. Her next action was to really listen to Sue's response. Listening beneath people's words and asking clarifying questions creates more intimacy. Listening is a power twin to speaking. In this case, Sue saw that raising her voice was her own defense mechanism based on old agreements, and that it was triggering unwanted effects in her relationship with Wendy. Consequently, she made a commitment to work on remaining calm. So far, this conscious and open communication has been wonderful for their relationship. Now, let's say that you're in a similar situation. Your partner says, okay, I will stop raising my voice, but then continues to yell when he or she gets frustrated. Yes, it is. It's a little divination practice that we get to read what we most need, right? Okay, so let's say you're in a similar situation. Your partner says, okay, I will stop raising my voice, but then continues to yell when he or she gets frustrated. If this happens, it's tempting to feel betrayed or angry and either shut down or begin yelling back. But the warrior goddess path invites you to not take the bait, thereby falling into your own unconscious reaction, but rather to simply make a note to yourself. Okay, they're still raising their voice. You have a choice in what you want to do next. You can retreat consciously, remembering that your partner is trying to break an old behavioral pattern too, and return to the conversation when things have calmed down. Another option is to give your partner some space to relearn and make new choices by bringing awareness with humor to the conversation. Perhaps you tickle them and say, hey, remember, no yelling. Let's run around the house together and then talk. You can create a game with each other and make fun agreements. Like when the conversation gets heated, you both have to jump rope for 3 minutes before you talk. Or the person who is upset has to wear a funny hat. Sometimes silliness is the antidote for getting back to the in the present communication. Breaking the pattern by doing something different can work wonders. The one thing I want to make clear in this example is that judging someone for not following through with their own agreement is a waste of your precious energy. When someone breaks an agreement, going into blame and judgment and betrayal does not help. But getting clear again about what you need and how you can fulfill that need is vital. The next time you yell, I will leave the room and wait until you are calm. I simply need the space to stay grounded, and I cannot do that when I feel attacked. Can you say this with warrior clarity and a goddess open heart? If your heart is closed, you are judging the person or yourself. Try speaking from an open place. This is where change happens. At first, it may seem that this escalates the problem, but if you stay clear with your boundaries and follow through, a shift will occur. I'm sure there's all sorts of questions and shares around this, so let me pause. Thanks for joining as we read Warrior Goddess Training. We're on lesson 8, page 114. We have been reading the book for a month and a half now. Yeah. So questions, shares. What's your relationship with communication? Where does it feel easy for you? Where does it feel challenging? Yeah. Okay. A couple of good questions. Sarah, I find it difficult to tell people how I feel because they do not like it, but I'll always do it. Yeah. And I think the important thing when we're sharing how we feel is that we're not making it the other person's fault or getting them to want to fix it. And sometimes you have to really clarify that. Like, I don't need you to do anything. I just want you to know that I felt such and such. So we want to be really, pay attention that we're intimate with ourselves about how we feel. Like, we're really, who's the person that you need to be telling how you feel? Yourself, number one. Okay. And then you feel into different relationships about where are the ones that you want to be more intimate with. Those are the ones that you want to share. So then you make sure that they understand. They still may not like it. How do you tell people nicely that you are not happy? As I always feel like I'm moaning. Well, what's the purpose of you telling people that you're not happy? That's where I would get curious about. Why are you telling people that you're not happy? What's your intent or your purpose? Is it because they've asked you how you're doing and you're sharing what's going on? Um, yeah, what's your intent behind your communication? And that's something that I always go back to with myself is what's my intent? Why am I sharing this? And is this serving me or the others? So there's a place of sharing where we're not happy that can be helpful because it helps us to hear what we need to change. But constantly just sharing that we're not happy, people are going to not want to hear it after a while because it means you're not taking action to shift it. Because we are responsible for our own happiness, regardless of what's happening around us. And there's a difference for me between like saying, I want to vent, I need to just dump for a little bit. So people then go, oh, you just want to dump. Got it. I can hold space for that. And that when you vent, then you feel better on the other side. And then you can then, continue on with your conversation, your relationship. So there's some thoughts. This is like, there are so many nuances around this. So please remember that I'm answering a question on Facebook and I don't know your situation. So, but hopefully that gives a little bit of things to chew on and think about. Hmm. Yeah. All right. What happens if your partner keeps doing the same thing and doesn't change? It is likely that for those of you that have partners or have family, that people are not going to change. It's highly likely that you're going to ask people to change, that you're going to want people to change, and they're still not going to change. So it really comes down to choice. This is something that I learned long ago. I still struggle with, honestly. It's still challenging that you can't control people. You can't make them do what you want them to do. They have their own agency. They're doing things from their own history and their own wounding. And there are things, even when you negotiate with someone, hey, let's change this, they may not be able to change because they don't want to, or because they don't know how, or they don't have the capacity. And so, absolutely, your partner's going to keep doing the same thing. So, we're not talking about abusive relationships. We're talking about you being irritated because your partner's leaving dishes in the sink, right? So, you start with clear communication. Honey, it really makes such a beautiful difference for me when the sink is cleared before we go to bed. You get really clear. What's the need? What would you like? They may or may not be able to fulfill that need. And if they don't, then you get to say, how important is this to me? I used to get super frustrated around things in my house when I lived with other people. I would get really frustrated. And one day I just was like, okay, I want to shift this because I don't want to live frustrated all the time. And so I made the decision if I wanted the dishes to be washed, whether they were not dishes, my dishes or not, I would just wash the dishes. And it wasn't, I'm washing them to like poke at you of like, see, I did the dishes. There was no resentment. It was just like, I have a preference for a clean sink, so I'm going to wash the dishes, which is for me. You feel the difference between that? Or sometimes I'd be like, I don't feel like washing the dishes, and they're just going to pile up and it'll be what it is. And I'm okay with that. I can create space around that. Not my preference, but I can create space around it. So to let go of trying to get people to do things they may not want to or see in the same way that you do is so much freedom. And also to know what your lines are. There's what I call deal breakers. So, is there a deal breaker? And deal breakers are those things that are like, I cannot be in relationship if this thing is happening. A deal breaker might be we're in relationship, and if you start, I had a deal breaker with somebody that I was dating because I knew that they were a former addict. And I said early in the relationship, I said, deal breaker, if you start doing drugs in any form or fashion, the relationship will be over immediately. Do you understand? And they were like, got it. I'm like, okay, good, we're clear. And then I didn't have to worry or think about it because I knew I would follow through with my commitment where there was a deal breaker. Then I didn't have to like worry about them. They were going to do whatever they were going to do. So I hope that helps. Oh, yeah. Yeah. And I'd say, Bonnie Lee, it's like also to think about the power of mind with matter, the power of your mind to work with your body rather than thinking of the body, the mind's going to push over the body, that your mind is going to work with your body. And that we're all learning about communication, especially about how to communicate with ourselves. Yeah. Mhm. Oh, good, America. Glad that you're here. It'd be great for you to. And you can also, for those of you that are new, if you want to check out the book, you can download 2 free chapters on the website warriorgoddess.com. So go check out warriorgoddess.com. If you just scroll down a little bit, you can read 2 free chapters of Warrior Goddess training, see if it works for you. Yeah. Mhm. Valerie, yes, I can absolutely relate to all of this. Piles of clutter is another with me as well as the kitchen and dishes. They have piled up for a week until I could not take it any longer, and I washed them and did a cleansing ceremony to not go into resentment. Good. It's hard. Living with other people is hard, even when you love them, even when, there's great things in the relationship. We have different preferences and needs, and navigating that's not easy. So to figure out how do I do this so I don't go into resentment? Yeah, it's frustrating. But that's the challenge. This is what I always look at as like this, it's not easy, but it's also a huge teaching and a gift for us to learn how to be more resilient, not get triggered, state our needs, let go, have preferences, but not be attached to the preferences. My kids and dishes. Yeah, exactly. And we get to learn how to be flexible where flexibility is needed and clear and boundaried where clarity and boundaries are needed. And it's a dance. So if we can look at it not as what's the right word? Like it's a good challenge. It's a worthy obstacle, right? It's a worthy obstacle. Yeah. So if they're trying to change the behavior and they want to change, you're not trying to change them. Okay. So if they want to change, the question then becomes this, how can I support you? How can I support you? What do you need to really have them get clear about what would support them? And if they're like, I don't know, say, well, do you want to brainstorm some ideas? Let's get clear about this. What would help? You know, my book, Awaken Your Inner Fire, I talk a lot about structures and what to do when there's knots in places and how to like untie the knots and make things flow again. And a lot of times it's about stepping back and looking at, okay, what am I actually doing here? And what do I need to do to unknot it? So I'll give another example with me. Yeah, you're welcome, Ellie. That I wanted to bring my podcast back. So we took a break over the podcast over the summer. Here we are coming into mid-October, and I still haven't really brought it back. And and what I've been doing is judging myself. The internal dialogue is like, come on, HeatherAsh, get it together. Why haven't you done the podcast? So there's been some of that going, and I'm just like, something's going on. And I realized the other day, I'm like, right, I changed a structure, and the change of structure that I made isn't working. It's created a bottleneck. I just need to change that. I need to it's my podcast. I get to change my mind around it and redo something. So I made a change that I thought would make the podcast better. But what it's done is it's made it that I'm not putting the podcast out. So that's not a better change then, right? Oh, so simple. So by telling myself the truth of like, oh, right, I made a change, but the change isn't actually serving me. Even if I think it's better, it's not working. Make a new agreement with myself and probably talk to my podcast editor to go, okay, I need help. I've made this decision, but it's not working. What shall we do? Okay, so I'm now going to get more support. So that's part of what we get to do as well. Yeah, good. Yeah, awesome. All right, loves. I love it, Renee. My anxiety is disappearing. Yeah, Patricia, I can only worry about me changing, me growing. I have to trust that they're changing too, not on my timetable. It's their journey. Exactly. And I think we create so much suffering for ourselves wanting other people to be on the timeline we think they should be on. And the truth is, we have no idea what anybody else needs on their journey. None. Like, how would we know? Their soul has a contract with life that we know nothing about, really. Our soul has a contract with life that we get to learn to be more intimate with, to really learn to listen to ourselves, to speak ourselves the truth. And that's where the transformation happens, is really when we start being more and more honest with ourselves without then beating ourselves up. Like, not helpful for me to be frustrated with myself around the podcast. Didn't make me change it any faster. It wasn't until I was able to step back and go, right, just need to shift it. Beautiful. Yeah. All right, loves. Yeah, exactly. It helps to ask ourselves, how important is this to me? Yeah. So I will be back next week to read. I'm about to unplug and go up to the mountains with my mom. I'm at my mom's house and spend the next 2 or 3 days up outside of Asheville. So I'm excited about that. And yeah, grateful to be here. So I'm going to unplug. I've got some dreaming to do around some new programs that I'm wanting to offer and deepening into that. And those of you that are not part of the Warrior Goddess Training Circle, if this work calls to you, if you feel a resonance here, and one of the big things that we work with is the speaking our truth, learning to speak our truth. So the Warrior Goddess Training Circle is a membership circle where together we go through a deeper dive of each of the lessons in Warrior Goddess Training, and I bring in a lot of other teachings that aren't in the book. So we will be doing recapitulation, we will be doing cord cutting, ancestral work, doing a really deep, thorough look at communication and skills and tool sets for that. So if you haven't checked the circle out, please go to warriorgoddess.com/circle. And there's a coupon code, which is still good. Thanks, everyone. Coupon code that's still good. The coupon code is YAY, Y-A-Y, if you want to join at no cost until November 1st. Love you too, Ashley. So here's the info on that, warriorgoddess.com. We're starting the journey of the 9 moons next week. And would love you to be part of it. Come check it out. Again, you can join the circle for free through November 1st. Check it out, see how it is, no obligation. If it doesn't feel like a match, you can step out. If it feels like a good support system for you, the cost is $97 a month for our self-development journey. And we also have scholarships available. So come check it out, warriorgoddess.com/circle. Next week, we start the journey of the 9 moons. We will be stepping into deep ritual ceremony with each other for the next 9 months. So excited. So really, really looking forward to that. And I wish you all a beautiful weekend. Go out in nature, sit under a tree, pet an animal, read some poetry, do something that's really nourishing for you this weekend. Sending you all my love. Take good care of yourself. And I'll talk to you soon. See you next week. Bye-bye.